Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Sports Vault Jersey. Joe Archino back here, and starting out today's show with a little bit of history. For the first time in club history, Juventus have won 13 consecutive Serie A games, and I think we've been talking more and more about the way Serie A has shifted. It's really funny. We were on the air so much early in the season talking about how competitive and just how much of a balance there was in this league, but it's really come down to Napoli and Juventus, and I think that's really what the rest of the season is going to dictate is how are these two clubs going to continue to pave ahead. Now, obviously, Juventus, it wasn't their most flashy performance yesterday, really snuck by to get their 13th consecutive win, but just the mere fact that they started off this season with so much uncertainty, took a while for Massimiliano Allegri to really get his side back in the form that we were so expecting to see, but he did make that happen. And I think the reason that I never fully hit the panic button is because Juventus never really struggled in the Champions League. Even with their struggles in Serie A, they never struggled in the Champions League. I mean, just look at their first Champions League match of the season. They take on Manchester City. Manchester City was perfect in the Premier League. 5 wins from 5 and no goals conceded. A lot of people were arguing and trying to make the case that maybe this is City's year to do something special in the Champions League, but then Juventus comes out right away and beats Manchester City. And I think the confidence of doing stuff like that and being at the peak in the Champions League is the main reason you never had to worry that they were going to be just fine in time in Serie A. And that's exactly what has happened. But the rankings after the matches yesterday, Napoli remains in first with 53, Juventus right behind in second place with 51, and Fiorentina in third with 45. But, it really has become clear that this is a two-way race between Juventus and between Napoli. And obviously, Gonzalo Higuain has been the main man for Napoli. He scores again yesterday, his 23rd goal of the season. It's been a historic run for him. But at the end of the day, if you're trying to separate Juventus and you're trying to separate Napoli, I think it has to be by who has the more overall well-balanced side. And I think when in that regard, it has to come down to Juventus. The one thing I like about Juventus more than Napoli, and there's a couple, but I think this is one of the main ones, is how much they don't really have to rely on one person. We know how well Juve defends. They're one of the best in the world at defending and counterattacking. Their counterattack is so dangerous because they defend so well across all positions, and then they have such good offensive skill people that when they get back into that counterattack, it really doesn't take too much passing for them to really get good shots on goal. But I look at the guys like Dybala, the young gun who's second in the league in scoring. Pogba has the scoring potential. Alvaro Morata has kind of come on a little bit, and he's always a threat to score. So they have so many dynamic and guys you just always have to be worried about. And I look at Napoli and I say, well, if Juventus really continues to emerge as the side that we know they are, can they kind of stop Higuain? And if you do, what's Napoli going to do? Now, we obviously do have this. These questions will kind of thankfully be answered very soon because we have Juventus who will be taking on Napoli at Turin in just a couple weeks. I mean, I think this kind of one was just one to get by. They get by again Genoa. I mean, we look at Juve. They just get by against Genoa in this game 1-0. Napoli defeats Lazio 2-0. But now we kind of look ahead a little bit for Juve. Juve now takes on Frosinone, who, it's funny, they drawed against Frosinone so early in the season, and that was all kind of during the period where we're all scratching our heads and hitting the panic button on Juve. It earned Frosinone their first point ever in Serie A, which, again, is quite substantial. That Juventus, the side that has won 4 Serie A titles in a row, drawed against a club that had never earned a point in Serie A before, have now won are now on a 13-game winning streak in that same league. So I think Juventus has clearly found their form, and they're going to continue to do that. but they get that kind of warm-up game against Frosinone, and then they take on Napoli. And a lot of our questions will be answered there. Could that match determine the fate of the champion, of the winner of this league? And I would say absolutely yes. I mean, I think in La Liga, I make this point all the time. Barcelona is going for obviously winning another La Liga title this season, and I think a lot of those that faith kind of has to be put in defeating Real Madrid and defeating Atletico Madrid. Well, they've already done those two things, and now it's really their league to kind of lose. I mean, they control it. Juventus, kind of because they got off to the poor start, desperately that's a must-win game for them to win this title, because Napoli kind of keeps on keeping pace with them. The only way that Juventus is going to make up those points is by beating Napoli. I think we all kind of understand that it's a simple dynamic, but it's going to be quite a contest between these two sides, because Higuain has been unstoppable. Juventus probably has the best defense in Serie A, and seeing those two go up against each other will certainly be a ton of fun to watch. But I think this match really will determine who will emerge as the Scudetto winner in Serie A this season. I mean, I just think, look at the rest of the competition. Is anybody really going to reassert their dominance? I really don't think so. No, Inter had their run at the beginning of the season. Roma is doing some interesting things now, but I still think it's going to take Spalletti a lot of time to get this side back in the top rankings. Fiorentina has always been there, but I think that's all they are. I think they are one of those clubs who always hangs around, but they're never really going to be the serious challenger to Napoli and Juventus. It's either going to be one of those clubs, and I think the winner will be determined when they take on each other, but there will be plenty of time to break down that contest more. We obviously have another weekend of matches to watch before that happens, and clearly, Juventus, we will see how they look against Frosinone, and then we'll evaluate them as they prepare to take on Napoli, and that will be the clash of Serie A that determines the Scudetto winner this season. A lot of implications will be behind it, and I know the football world will all be watching, and certainly I will too. But until we get that dramatic match to happen, Jersey Joe Archino here with the Sports Vault. You can follow me on Twitter at Joe Archino, on Instagram, Jersey_Joe_Archino, and I'll be back next time.